At this moment, the search and rescue efforts are still underway across Kern County and the surrounding counties, and this involves close to 19 state and local agencies that are on the ground. That involves agents, it involves volunteers. They're searching bodies of waters like the stream behind me. It involves volunteers on land, the use of helicopters, drones, and all of this is an effort to find these missing girls that were part of the Christian camp and whose cabins were washed away with the rain and the unexpected and unprecedented storms here across the state of Texas. Now, what we're also seeing is that volunteers and some of these agencies are also having some troubles with the search that is underway because of, the weather was one of the factors. It hadn't stopped raining up until today. And so this eases things up for the searchers and the rescuers who are here on the ground at this moment.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Sorry to be making this video under certain circumstances, the floods in Texas. Those are dire circumstances those families are being put through right now, and we all send out our prayers to those that lost loved ones and are still searching for loved ones. I can't imagine something like that happening to my teen kid that was at a summer camp trying to make lasting memories. But it happened, and the rescue efforts are still in motion. I hope everything turns out for the best for those families, for those cities and communities that was ravaged by these floods created from some rainstorms. I think from Hurricane Barry, tropical storm or Hurricane Barry sent that rain over to that Texas area. But we are going to have to do some evaluating on what really happened. Why was FEMA money cut? Why was money cut from Noaa and the Weather Service? These are needed entities of government to help make sure that the American citizens are as best we can be when it comes to disasters. There's going to be some blame to go around, but DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, created by Elon Musk and okayed by Donald Trump, is responsible for the FEMA cuts and the cuts to Noaa and the Weather Center. There's no two ways around that. Elon Musk needs to be brought before Congress to a hearing and made to answer for these draconian cuts that he made that could possibly have been a part of the responsibility in what happened in these floods. And going forward, this is hurricane season. It doesn't end until November. Imagine what can happen going forward from here to more U.S. citizens all across this country with tornadoes and all. So yes, we're going to have to evaluate and place blame, just as the Republicans would, as they always do with the wildfires in Texas. So we're going to have a couple of clips I'm going to play for you, evaluating some of the what's still going on over in Texas, and evaluating where some of this blame should lie. Normally heads will roll, not this administration. They're going to possibly pat each other on the back and try to put a good face on this. We can't let that happen. We just got to keep the truth at the forefront. This is what I'm going to try to do here. And again, my condolences go out to the families who lost loved ones and that are still searching for their loved ones. And we hope that the best outcome is the only outcome. Let's take a look at some of the news surrounding this issue.
We do begin this hour with the desperate search for crews for survivors from that deadly flooding that swept through central Texas this past weekend. Officials say the flooding has killed more than 90 people. That includes at least 27 campers and counselors from the Christian girls camp, Camp Mystic, which sits along the Guadalupe River. About 40 people are still unaccounted for right now. We're also hearing from two brothers who survived the flooding at a different camp in Hunt, Texas.
We jumped up to another bed, like a top bunk, and like our bed starting tipping over, and like we got to the top really quick, and then we like this, and then like one of the walls like fall down.
And CBS News reporter Nydia Cavazos is in Kerrville. That's about 65 miles northwest of San Antonio. Nydia, very good to see you. At this point, there are still 10 girls and 1 counselor missing from Camp Mystic. What do search efforts look like for them, as well as the others that are still unaccounted for right now?
At this moment, the search and rescue efforts are still underway across Kern County and the surrounding counties, and this involves close to 19 state and local agencies that are on the ground. That involves agents, it involves volunteers. They're searching bodies of waters like the stream behind me. It involves volunteers on land, the use of helicopters, drones, and all of this is in efforts to find these missing girls that were part of the Christian camp and whose cabins were washed away with the rain and the unexpected and unprecedented storms here across the state of Texas. Now, what we're also seeing is that volunteers and some of these agencies are also having some troubles with the search that is underway because of, the weather was one of the factors. It hadn't stopped raining up until today, and so this eases things up for the searchers and the rescuers who are here on the ground at this moment.
Well, we're along the Guadalupe River right now, and you can see it's still rushing, not back within its original banks, but it is receding. That's the good news. This is an area where this water rose more than 20 feet in less than an hour. It reached all the way to the top of the hill and beyond, and getting into areas where it was just too much for residents to bear.
The force of that water was so insane. Nobody could get into it. That my resident, that was the one that called 911, he was trying to get to the family and all the way to water, all the way to his waist, and debris hitting him, and he was yelling, "Please throw me your baby," and they couldn't, and they got swept away.
Looking across the other side now, you can see these trees that were snapped. They're pushed over like a row of dominoes, just lining the entire river here. The damage is overwhelming. It stretches for miles. This is the kind of area that rescue and recovery teams are working through right now while keeping an eye on the sky, because the forecast calls for more rain today. The potential for flooding, not like we've seen so far, but still enough to cause problems in an area that already has all it can deal with. That's the latest right now from Kerrville, Texas. I'm Jay Gray, NBC News.
Yeah. That's crazy. That was one of those storms that Noah and Fema would have possibly had those Texans prepared for, or even given a heads up to get out on time. This is why you fund these government departments and you do not cut them. Yes, Donald Trump allowed a South African American, Elon Musk, a private citizen, to create a department that came in with a sledgehammer as if it was some kind of game to start cutting these government departments and these government jobs in what they claim was efficiency, to try and save money. We now know that that department spent more money on its employees than it saved the government. So yes, this was a blunder by the Trump administration, allowing Elon Musk to come in with his know-it-all mentality, give him this much power to cut these departments, and now we have this type of situation already, only a few months into his presidency, and we have a whole hurricane season to go. So I'm gonna show you guys a couple of clips from back then when these cuts were being made and in the manner that they were going about these cuts. And I'll pick it up on the other side.
And welcome in to Live Now from Fox as we continue to follow some breaking news here as more cuts could be expected today to Noaa. And this comes after hundreds of weather forecasters were fired due to more DOGE cuts. Here's what we know. Here's the latest. Hundreds of those weather forecasters and other federal National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration employees, also known as NOAA, are on probationary status. They were on probationary status and they were fired yesterday. Federal workers who were not let go said the afternoon layoffs included meteorologists who do crucial local forecasts in National Weather Service offices across the country. Cuts at NOAA appeared to be happening in two rounds, one of 500 and one of 800. That's according to Craig McLean. He's a former NOAA chief scientist who said he got the information from someone with firsthand knowledge. That's about 10% of NOAA's workforce. The first round of cuts were probationary employees. There are about 375 probationary employees in the National Weather Service, where day-to-day forecasting and hazard warning is done. The firings come amid efforts by Elon Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency to shrink a federal workforce that President Donald Trump has called bloated. Thousands of probationary employees across the government have already been fired. So we are continuing to follow this for you here on Live Now from Fox, as again, we are expecting that there could be additional cuts today. And of course, if we do get any word of that, we will bring it to you here on Live Now. And we are hearing from a number of congressional leaders as they are speaking out. One of them is Representative Grace Meng. She's a Democrat from New York. She released a statement saying, quote, "Today," which was yesterday, "hundreds of employees at NOAA, including weather forecasters at the National Weather Service, were given termination notices for no good reason. This is unconscionable." She also added, quote, "These are dedicated, hardworking Americans whose efforts help save lives and property from the devastating impacts of national disasters across the country. This action will only endanger American lives going forward." We also heard from Representative Jared Huffman. He's a California Democrat who is the ranking minority member in the House Natural Resources Committee. He also said, quote, "Hundreds of scientists and experts at NOAA were let go." Continuing to follow all of this for you here on Live Now from Fox, as we always do.
This is why we should vote people into office who knows what they're doing. Why don't we go and cut some of Elon Musk, his companies, some of their contracts that they have with the federal government to find this waste and abuse, instead of cutting departments that we know the American people are going to need? How about going to the defense contract that hasn't passed an audit in about 7 years? Where's all that money going? But no, you want to cut necessary departments out of the government so you can save enough money to give tax cuts to the top 1% in this country. That's why they were cutting all this money away. But we're not going to let them rest. We got to keep telling the truth. Keep posting on social media, putting your thoughts out there. And I suggest some of you even get in front of your own phone's camera and start posting some of your thoughts so people can hear you out. But I'm going to show you what these people are capable of. Everybody remember Hurricane Katrina and what we saw on our television. But we had George W. Bush, the Republican, as president at that time, and he was gaslighting the American people with this stuff about his secretary Brownie that was doing a good job that we know was doing a horrible job. Remember this clip?
A fantastic Gulf Coast, like it was before. Out of the rubbles of Trent Lott's house, his had lost his entire house. There's going to be a fantastic house. Again, I want to thank you all for, and Brownie, you're doing a heck of a job.
God bless America.
Yes, most of us remember that clip of lying George W. Bush. I just wanted to get on here and put this video out, put some thoughts out, have you guys think about it. Let me know what you think in the comments. And I'm gonna leave you with a clip of a influencer, a lady who always puts out some very good thoughts. You might want to go over and follow her on TikTok. But she's got some really good thoughts here, meaning we should keep these people in our prayers. We should hope for the best for them and their families because it could be us tomorrow. So I'm going to leave you with this clip of this lady. Listen to her words because they're very important and they're very enlightening. I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. Share this with your friends so it can get around. See you next time.
Now, I was going to come on here and point out the irony that the same people who were just cheering on the idea of human beings being chased by alligators just last week are coming on here condemning people on the left for lacking empathy and compassion for what's going on in Texas right now because they're a red state. But that kind of obvious irony doesn't need to be talked about. What I think it's important to talk about, though, is me personally, I do have empathy and compassion for what's going on in Texas right now. I think it is absolutely devastating. I am able to look past the fact that Texas is a pro-Trump state. It's that same empathy and compassion that, helps me to look past whether or not someone's here legally or not. If you're fleeing poverty, war, violence, like I can go like this too. That's compassion and empathy. It's the same compassion and empathy that I have for people who are on WIC or use SNAP benefits or are on Medicaid and Medicare. I don't call them lazy or I don't pretend to know what's going on in their lives. If they need it, if they're on it, so be it. I don't care. The same way I don't care about your voting history when it comes to my empathy and compassion is the same way I don't care about someone's criminal history when they're unjustly murdered by the police. And while some of you on the Republican side right now are demanding empathy and compassion for the people of Texas, regardless of how these people may or may not have voted, that is all we have ever asked from you. To see human beings as human beings at the end of the day. To extend that same empathy and compassion to people fleeing war and poverty, or not being judgmental when families are just trying to do what they can do to keep their families fed. To those that don't look like you, think like you, pray like you, have the same sexual orientation as you. Because empathy and compassion should know no bounds. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what papers you hold, where you come from, what language you speak. This is literally what we've been asking from you the whole time. As for me, my empathy is not conditional. My compassion is not transactional. And the way I feel about humanity will not be negotiated.
I ask you guys to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Thank you.